In this week's Parashas Vayera, we're taught about the Chesed of Avraham Avinu. And as we know, the Torah isn't just a storybook, it doesn't just relate historical facts, but it's very choosy about the stories that it relates, and particularly about the information that it gives, how much information, and the positioning of each of its stories and which one follows the next. So it's interesting to note that when he wants to point out how Avraham Avinu was such a Baal Chesed, in this week's Parashah we're taught about the story where he was hospitable to 3 wayfarers who were making their way through the desert. An unbelievable act of kindness to people who he never knew. And so immediately following that, the Torah tells us that he was informed about the upcoming destruction of Sodom and Amorah and the cities surrounding them. And Avram begins to daven for them. Rabbi Yechiel Emanuel in his Sefer Emes Yaakov points out that this is a very interesting juxtaposition of stories, and it's there to teach us a great lesson and an insight into the workings of human beings. So Rabbi Yechiel Emanuel that you find often that if someone has worked on a particular area of Avodas Hashem, service of Hashem, or person has been pedantic about a particular mitzvah, often that person may then look down on other people who aren't as pedantic in that particular mitzvah as themselves. The example he gives over there is, interestingly, he says you may find someone who's very particular about eating Sudah Shlishis, the third meal on Shabbos, and washing and making sure that one does it properly. That person then begins to look down on someone who may go with a more lenient opinion and start to fulfill his obligation by having fruit. And that person begins to look down on the other. The person who is pedantic about eating Sudah Shlishis, eating all 3 meals and washing, begins to look down on the other person incorrectly. He says since that's a phenomena that is common amongst human beings, it would have then made sense that Avraham Avinu, who was the prototype of a Baal Chesed, would have looked down on anyone that didn't fulfill acts of kindness and hospitality as he did. And therefore when HaKadosh Baruch Hu informed him that he was going to destroy Sodom, it would make sense that Avraham would say, excellent, good riddance, these people are the antithesis of what I believe, they're destroying my legacy, etc., etc. Good riddance, get rid of them. What does Avraham Avinu do? No. He davens that they should live, that they should continue to exist, and hopefully repent. Says Rabbi Yechiel Emanuel, this just comes to show us what a real Baal Chesed Avraham Avinu was. When we do acts of Chesed, it's not because, well, it makes us feel good. It shouldn't be because if we feel it's the right thing to do. It should be because we're trying to mirror HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we know HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't desire the death of any person, not even of a sinner. Rather, he prefers that they repent. Therefore, Avraham Avinu, when he heard here that these people who believed in the opposite of what he stood for were about to be killed, he stood up and prayed that they should continue to live and repent. That's a real Baal Chesed.